The world's most powerful storm this year, Hurricane Melissa, raced toward Jamaica with wind speeds of up to 282 kilometers per hour early Tuesday, barreling northeast through the Caribbean Sea. According to local officials, Melissa caused the deaths of some 3 people in the country on Monday. Although major impacts are only expected when the Category 5 storm makes landfall later on Tuesday, some people already spent the night in storm shelters. The US-based National Hurricane Center predicted that as much as 102 centimeters of rainfall was possible in parts of Jamaica over the next 4 days before Melissa weakens. The storm is expected to also hit Cuba and bring severe weather to other parts of the Caribbean, including the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos Islands. Meanwhile, the UN said on Monday it has readied aid for Jamaica, Cuba, and Haiti to help those affected by the hurricane. Melissa is the world's strongest storm so far this year and, at its current strength, would be the strongest hurricane to hit Jamaica since record-keeping began in 1851.
A powerful earthquake struck western Turkey on Monday, causing at least 3 buildings to collapse, local officials reported. According to the Disaster and Emergency Management Agency, the structures had already been damaged in a previous earthquake and no immediate casualties were confirmed. The 6.1 magnitude quake, which struck late Monday, was centered in Savitzky in the northwestern Balıkesir province, sending several aftershocks which were felt in Istanbul and nearby provinces. The Interior Ministry said at least 22 people were injured due to panic-related falls. Savitzky had already been struck in August by a magnitude 6.1 earthquake, which killed 1 person and injured dozens of other people.
Turkey has signed a deal with the UK worth roughly €9 billion to purchase 20 Eurofighter Typhoon jets. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan hailed the agreement as a, quote, new symbol of the strategic relationship between the 2 close allies. And British Prime Minister Keir Starmer added that the agreement provides the option for the sale of more jets in the future.
Eurofighter Typhoon savaş uçaklarının tedarikine dair uygulama düzenlemeleri heyetler arası görüşmelerde imzalandı. Bu mutabakatı 2 yakın müttefik olarak aramızdaki stratejik ilişkilerin yeni bir nişanesi olarak görüyorum.
Our countries may sit at either end of Europe, but we're strong partners, working more closely together now than ever before. We're united behind our collective security as NATO allies.
The jets are manufactured by a group of countries, including the UK, Germany, Italy, and Spain. Ankara and London had already signed a preliminary deal for the Eurofighters back in July. The deal over the summer followed shortly after Germany decided to lift its long-standing opposition to the sale of the jets to Turkey.
Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán was received in a private meeting on Monday morning by Pope Leo XIV here in Rome before meeting Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni later on in the afternoon. The last time Orbán was in Rome was last December, so almost 1 year ago. And the visit comes ahead of Hungary's next general elections, which are due to take place in April and which are said to be quite crucial for Viktor Orbán himself. Now, we understand that the war in Ukraine took center stage in the talks, as he did with Pope Francis. Viktor Orbán wanted to highlight to both the Pontiff and Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni that Hungary is calling for an end to the war in Ukraine. And let's remind ourselves that Viktor Orbán is the leader of perhaps the only one, if not one of the few EU countries that has maintained strong ties with Moscow. And we also understand, that's according to reports in the Italian media that sanctions against Russia very likely were part of the discussions, with Orbán opposing the measures and Meloni finding herself in a position to mediate between Orbán and the rest of EU leaders. Orbán told Italian newspaper La Repubblica that the economy of the EU was another topic on the agenda of today's talks. Giorgio Orlandi for Euronews in Rome.
The rule of law has decreased in over two-thirds of EU countries in 2025, according to the Rule of Law Index published on Tuesday by the World Justice Project. The rule of law can be defined as a durable system of laws, institutions, norms and community commitment that delivers four universal principles: accountability, just law, open government and accessible and impartial justice. Out of the 27 EU member states, Bulgaria and Hungary were the ones with the lowest rule of law scores. On the opposite end of the spectrum, 8 EU countries rank among the top 10 globally in the rule of law index, with Denmark retaining the first position worldwide. In 2025, Slovakia and Hungary saw the sharpest declines.
All 8 of the factors are declining for Hungary, so it really ranges from declines in constraints on government powers, absence of corruption, open government, fundamental rights, civil justice, criminal justice, regulatory enforcement, and order and security.
The largest increases were observed in Ireland and Poland.
The global trend that we're seeing is declines in constraints on government powers, fundamental rights, and open government. Ireland and Poland are both showing improvements in all of those factors.
The decline in rule of law is being observed worldwide and not just in Europe. Justice systems in the majority of countries around the world have also been facing greater political interference.
In the heart of the Karakalpak Desert, in northwestern Uzbekistan, far from the world's art capitals, stands a museum that changed the way we think about where culture can live. This is the Savitzky Museum, known to many as the Louvre in the desert. Inside, every wall tells a story. From the bold lines of Russian avant-garde painters to the silent fragments of ancient Khwarezm. Here, forgotten art found its home.
Наш музей был основан в 1966 году московским художником Игорем Витальевичем Савицким. Игорь Витальевич впервые приезжает к нам в Каракалпакстан в 50-е годы в составе знаменитой Хорезмской археолого-этнографической экспедиции в качестве постоянного художника. Наш музей занимает второе место в мире собранием коллекций русского авангарда после знаменитого Русского музея в Санкт-Петербурге. И коллекция нашего музея насчитывает более 100 тысяч экспонатов. И более 80 тысяч из них собирает Игорь Витальевич Савицкий за всю свою жизнь, которую прожил у нас в Каракалпакстане.
Savitzky, a Moscow artist turned collector, fell in love with this remote region. What began as a modest effort to preserve local crafts became one of the world's greatest collections of suppressed and forgotten art. Among the museum's treasures are sculptural works carved from wood and stone, traditional jewelry, and handcrafted household items that reveal the artistry of everyday life in Karakalpakstan. Nearby, vivid paintings capture local traditions and faces, scenes of people, nature, and color that echo through time. Together, these collections form a living dialogue between heritage and creativity. Savitsky's vision built the bridge between the past and modern identity.
Конечно, ежегодно нас посещают много посетителей, как местные, так и зарубежные туристы. Интерес растет каждым днем, каждым годом, конечно. Если в прошлом году нас посетили свыше 60 тысяч человек, то уже за 9 месяцев посетили наш музей свыше 11 тысяч иностранных туристов и более 48 тысяч наших местных туристов.
The Savitzky Museum is more than a gallery. It's a story of defiance, passion and rediscovery, proof that even in the desert, art can bloom and endure.